Well, it's me again, and this is my podcast and my world, where I take you along on an adventure where we get to explore everything and anything that goes on in my mind. Oh boy, is it random, is it crazy, it's nuts, it's all over the place. So grab yourself a cup of coffee and let's have a good time. Well, hello once again, my friends. This is episode 23. I hope you all are doing absolutely fantastic. I think I'm doing darn good. I'm surviving, and I'll tell you what, surviving is probably the best thing to be doing right now. It's just one of those things where you just kind of like gotta chug along to get things done. And that's exactly where I'm at. I'm just kind of sitting in a place where I'm chuggling along. I have a destination in the near future, hopefully, and it's just like one little baby step after another to get there. But I'm getting there. It's slow, but I am getting there. What's that destination, you ask? Well, I'll tell you about it in just a second. But first, I want to say, I'm Graham, and this is my world, and welcome to my channel. If you are brand new to my world here, make sure you hit that subscribe button, and if you like what you see, and you want to see more, hit the little belly thing, yada yada, thumbs up, yada yada. Y'all have been doing some, seriously, everybody knows about YouTube and how it works. If you love me, show me, haha. But the ultimate goal here is to buy a house. My wife and I, we have been trying desperately to buy a house since 2007. Probably actually a little bit before that. It was probably about 2006, I want to say, that we're going to buy a house. Let's do it. Let's save up our money. Let's get a down payment. Let's buy a house. And so that is what we did. We started saving our money, and in the spring of 2007, we finally got a loan approval for our house, $150,000. Found the house we wanted. Now, it was a fixer-upper, but we were totally cool with that. It was a foot in the door, get us going. And so go to do the paperwork for it, and darn it if it wouldn't happen, but it did. The market crashed just as we were doing all the paperwork and getting ready to do this. And they said, okay, well, we have to run your credit again because the qualifications for your credit score are higher now. Because it was a minimum credit score originally at 620, and then right after the crash of the economy, whatever, the credit score was 640, so they raised it 20 points. So we knew at that moment we were done, because we had 628, I think is what my credit score was. And we knew that we weren't going to have enough, because they just pulled our credit, like a month or so before that. And, that alone drops your credit. So we lost that house. And some more time went on, and the dream of buying a house. We wanted to buy a house. We were saving up our money. We were doing everything we could to buy a house. The saving part, getting ready for, bigger down payment, doing something, doing whatever we needed. And I would say it was about 2012. We said, all right, let's do it again. Let's look into buying a house. And so we found a friend of ours. We thought he was a friend of ours, and he was going to sell the house to us. And we're like, all right, it's a 3-bedroom, family room downstairs. It was a wonderful little house on a cul-de-sac. It was almost perfect, huge backyard for my garden. It was wonderful. And he kept saying, let's go ahead and do a rent to own. And you give us, you give me, say 20% down, and we'll just do a rent to own. And it just, the whole thing just sounded fishy. Like, we were like, okay, but we wanted to do more of like a conventional style loan. We didn't want to do a rent to own, because, you know, at any point in time, the person you're buying from can walk away and then they take your money and run, basically. And we just didn't know him all that well, and he seemed kind of weird and kind of fishy and just too nice, too friendly. And so we said, no, not. If we're going to do this, we're going to do this our way. And he wasn't wanting to do it that way, and so, but we didn't give him any money, thank goodness. But it was about 4 months of, you know, him packing his house up and getting ready to move. We were going to move in, but we couldn't move in until we gave him, 20%, which we had. And yeah, we just, anyways, it didn't, we were like, nope, not doing it. Well, shortly after that, I lost my job and I was out of work for just about 6 months. And, when you couldn't find work, I mean, it was bad. It was really, really bad. Could not find work at all. And so I'm like, okay, well, what do? You have to live off of your savings. We didn't have an emergency savings. All we had was a down payment for our house savings. So we lived off of our money for that. I also ended up having to pull my 401k and my Roth, and we had to survive off of that. There was no work. There was nothing whatsoever, which then ended up pushing me into driving a taxi cab, which we lost even more money on that. I sold my car in order to pay for, my business license and all that kind of stuff. And then a little bit of extra money after that was to survive on. It was horrible. It was absolutely horrible. And then the next year was even worse, because I wasn't making money at doing that. And I'm like, all right, well, I'm going to go drive a semi truck because I got to make money. And there was no money in that. And I was basically paying for 2 households. Basically, I had to provide for my own food and that kind of thing. And then I had to still, pay rent and food for the family and electricity and all those bills too. And it just, we were still sinking. We were still falling behind. So I said, all right, fine, coming home. Well, that was my we had an accident. I didn't have an accident. My co-driver rolled our semi truck, fractured my ankle, and I had to go on L&I, which became a godsend, because then we were actually finally doing well for a little bit there while I was on L&I, because I didn't have to pay for me being away and all that kind of stuff. And L&I was coming up on an end. I had a CDL finally, and I'm like, all right, well, let's see if I can find something local. So I applied at the company I'm with now, and, well, actually, I applied for the 2 companies before where I'm at now, but long story. They didn't want to hire me on full-time. They gave me a part-time job, so I worked part-time, and then I got hired on full-time later. Yeah. But we last year we tried to buy a house, and my last employer, I worked for her for about, I think it was 2.5 years, almost 3 years, something like that. And she and I got into a huge, nasty fight. She's just a horrible person all around. I mean, she just, she screwed me over the coals, never paid me overtime. The way the pay was set up was just ridiculous. She made sure to cut me 30 minutes for lunch, and then if I worked over 8 hours, she screwed me another 30 minutes for lunch, even though I didn't take either one of the lunches. And the way the whole thing was set up was just horrible. And she overcharged me about $300 on a vehicle I was buying from her. I mean, she's just a horrible person. Plus, she micromanaged, yelling and screaming at me all the time, and it was just a horrible environment. So went to go buy a house after I left her, And I had all my pay stubs, W-2s, everything. I thought that was going to be enough. Come to find out, the loan officer that we were working with is actually a really good friend of hers, but we didn't know that at the time. And so we got denied the loan based on the fact that, oh, well, she refused to give a thing and there's nothing we can do about it. Well, come to find out there is. Even if she did refuse to give a reference, all you got to do is file a little paperwork stating that the business is not complying, but there is evidence that he has track record of his work history. But whatever, I got screwed over again by that one, and I just horrible. So this year we're doing it again. This is it. We're trying one more time. This is like the fourth time. I think the fourth time we've tried to buy a house, and doing it again. We're just going to do it again, and we want to buy a house. See, what we were planning on doing 7 years ago is we were planning on buying a house. I guess it's almost 11 years ago now. And living there 2 years, and then getting out of that and getting into another one and renting them out. So every 2 years move and just keep renting out the houses. That's what the plan was. 10 years... I could be sitting on 5 houses right now, or well, is it 4 houses, something like that? And yeah, you know, they'd all be kind of snowballing and each other and paying each other off, and it just didn't work out, you know, financially. The thing about buying a house, those who have houses are really freaking lucky. Because it is not easy to get a house. You have to have so many things in line. You have to make a certain amount of money. You know, your debt to income ratio has to be at a certain point. You have to, you have so many things you got to do. Everything's got to line up perfectly. You got to have work history. You got to have down payment. You got to have, you know, perfect credit, pretty much. You got to, all these things have to line up perfectly. And it's difficult to get in. Most people that get in, they have a family member that co-signs for them, or, you know, or something along those lines. And then, in my opinion, the way it's supposed to be, and it's been for generations, is that your parents bought their house, they got in, they buy the house, they own their house, and they end up either helping you buy a house, or you end up taking over their house. And, you know, generation after generation, you live in a house and whatever. But it doesn't work out that way. And so and then when your parents die, this is the thing that really gets me, okay? Your parents die, the house is now vacant, right? People want to sell the freaking house and make money on it, and it just irritates the hell out of me. I don't understand it. You know, how siblings can fight and argue over it, and then so they want to sell the house and split the money. And I'm like, that is the stupidest thing anybody could ever freaking do. Because you have this asset that's sitting here, and as soon as you sell it and you make it into money, into cash, it's no longer worth anything. And that cash is spent so quickly, and it's gone, it's over with, and you have nothing to show for it. Better thing to do, rent out the house. If the house is completely paid off, crap, man. Go and get yourself a freaking management company or something, and pay a management company a small fee every month, and have them rent out the house, and then you end up getting in the pocket, you know, a few $100s a month. I mean, that's the way to do it. Seriously. I mean, if you want to, that's stability, that's an asset, that's money coming in every month. You don't have to worry about it. You know, I mean, that's security. But all these people that want to sell the house. I just experienced this with my uncle in England. Now, of course, I have no say-so over anything. I've got aunts and uncles and stuff, but they took it upon themselves to sell my uncle's house. And they didn't care. They just, we're going to sell it and split it. They took the money and they split it between the two of them. There was actually 3. I have an aunt and an uncle over there, and then my mom. So it should have been split 3 ways, and instead they decided to screw my mom out of the deal. And they did it all on their own, and yeah, but whatever. But they sold it. It's like, well, why would you freaking sell it? Keep it, rent it out. But I see it all the time. And people, they don't. If people own a home, and they've owned a home for years, and they come across a family member's house or something, and they just get rid of it, it's because they don't value anymore or remember how difficult it is to get a home. Man, even if you're not going to rent it out, give it to someone who's trying to buy a home, a family member, a kid, somebody. Do a rent to own with them. Do something where you're helping out someone. Oh, here's some cash, boom. Guess what? Cash alone by itself isn't going to get you to buy a house. It isn't going to get anything that you want out of anything. I mean, the whole thing is just ridiculous. It's horrible. I mean, it's just, that's where the separation between the rich and the poor are. Really is the poor, really, they have no financial stability later in life, and they don't own a home, and they're renters. For the most part, the poor people rent. Not all of them, but most of them rent. And then the ones that are wealthy in this world, they own property, they own homes. They're the one. And here's the thing too. Once you own a house, you own it. It's yours. And guess what? Once you have equity built up in it, you can buy a house without even trying. If you say, hey, I want to buy this other house over here, they'll throw it at you. Literally. It's so easy to get another loan for another house. It's so easy. And once you buy a house, your credit jumps. And not just a little bit either. It flies through the roof, jumps. Because all of a sudden you're now stable. All of a sudden now you have something to lose. People aren't going to lose where they live. They work hard for where they live. And then you talk about corrupt. You can rent an apartment for 15, 20 years if you wanted to. And in most places, most states, you cannot use your rental history to help you buy a house. Wow. I can't think of a better thing. If you could show, when you go to buy a house, that you've been making payments every single month without fail for 5 years, 10 years, oh my gosh, seriously. I mean, what? It's no different than buying a house. Seriously. I mean, if you're making that kind of payment every month, $900 and $1,200 a month, every month. And here's the other part that really is sick about it, seriously. Those that rent spend more every month on rent than those that buy. I'm looking here in the area where we live here, and the average mortgage, what somebody pays out of pocket, and this is a fairly new mortgage. Within the last 5 years, these are mortgages that have come up. Is about $600 a month for a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house. Okay, it's a yard, a garage, the whole thing. Okay, $600 a month is average. But for the same piece of land, same size, same house, same everything, if you're going to rent it, it's almost $1,200. Double. What does that tell you? It tells you these people that are renting these houses are getting screwed. Not only are they paying the mortgage on the house, but they're paying probably double the mortgage. So the owner of the house is getting it paid off faster so he can go out and buy more houses. And make it even more difficult. Because the less houses there are on the market that are available, less people are going to be able to buy them. I just want to get my foot in the door. That's all I want. I want to do that. I don't want to... I'm not going to charge double. But I want to make sure I get somebody in there that's going to respect the place. But I want to buy homes. I want to buy houses. I want to get into real estate. I've been wanting this forever. My wife and I have taken all kinds of crazy classes and all that kind of stuff. I spent $2,000 one time taking a class on foreclosures and how to buy houses for cheap, and it turned out to be more of a scam than anything. I mean, it's just ridiculous, Those that have, they make it real difficult for those who don't. It's just a pain in the butt. So, anyways, y'all have yourselves a fantastic rest of the day. I love you all so very, very much. If you like what you hear, definitely give me a thumbs up. Of course, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. And I just want to say welcome if you're new. And I'll see y'all next time. Bye for now.
This has been a Graham's World broadcast brought to you directly from Graham's mind. So stay tuned because there's more to come.